just to keep you posted and updated on the latest. Now, all eyes will be on Nairobi today as Jubilee Party kicks off its party primaries. Nairobi County has 1.8 million voters and 17 constituencies and is likely to be a battlefield, especially for the gubernatorial position when Nairobi Senator Mike Sonko takes on former Gatanga Member of Parliament Peter Kenneth and former Assistant Minister Margaret Wanjiru. The senatorial seat will see former TNA Chairman Johnston Sakaja battle it out with Mutinda Kavemba in a race that has attracted 6 aspirants. Nairobi Women Representative Rachel Shebesh will be seeking to retain her position as she faces 7 other aspirants, including city lawyer Karen Nyamo and businesswoman Millicent Omanga. So, would like to look at some of the figures that we have in Nairobi, just to paint a picture and give you what is at stake. And this is to do with the Jubilee nominations in Nairobi County. Now, the constituency that we are looking at has registered voters, at least as per 31st of December 2016, we are looking at 1.8 million, and you can see the exact figure, but that's over 1.8 million registered voters. And this is basically just in Nairobi. If we can move on to the next board and take a look at the gubernatorial aspirants. And of course, we do know that Mike Sonko, who is the current senator for Nairobi, is going to be one throwing his hat for the gubernatorial race. This is something that he declared a while ago. We also have Peter Kenneth, who is a former assistant minister. And of course, there is a tag of war between the two of them. We have Karaoke Margaret Wanjiru, who was a former member of parliament for Starehe. And of course, they're going to be battling it out between the 3 of them. There was, of course, the push and pull earlier on, whereby apparently it was said that there was a negotiation between Mike Sonko and Peter Kenneth to see whether one of them would give way to the other. But there you go, they're both going for it. Now, moving on to the constituencies, we have Westlands, we have Dagoretti North, Dagoretti South, Langata, we have Kibra and Roysambu as the constituencies that are within Nairobi. We also have Embakasi South, Embakasi East, Embakasi North, Embakasi West, and Embakasi Central. I do believe our reporter Akisa Wandera is going to be in Embakasi, so I'm sure we'll be catching up with her not too long from now to find out what is happening in Embakasi. All right. And this is Jubilee in Nairobi. And of course, this is one of the big battles that is expected. Let's move on to the next board now. And we have the constituencies. Still, we'll continue with that. And we have Makadara, Kamkunji, Starehe, where we've just covered, where Dennis Onsarigo is. We have Mathare, we have Ruaraka, and Kasarani. So Nairobi is quite big. And with 1.8 million registered voters, obviously, it is expected that the turnout should be quite high and the stakes are quite high. All right, moving on now to the next board. The senatorial aspirants that are going to be battling it out today. We have Johnston Sakaja, who basically initially had indicated that he wanted to go for the gubernatorial race, but later on turned down and said, well, he's going to throw in his hat for the senatorial race. We have Mutinda Richard Kavemba. We have Shibo Badi Ali, who is, one who's throwing in his hat for the senatorial seat. Kabera, William Wahome, and Mushiri Gerald Midhamo. So all these are the aspirants that we have for the senatorial seat under the Jubilee ticket. Moving on to the next board now. We have Kamura Lucy Waithera. This is the woman rep, which we do know that, we have Kamura Lucy Waithera, we have Geshoke Jan Mudhoni, Masharia Rosemary Wairimo, Mudachi Mary Musuki. Let's move on to the next one. We see all the women rep who are throwing in their hat for the women rep position. If we can move on to the next board. And we know this is also another very hotly contested one. The incumbent, we have Rachel Shebesh, Rachel Wamboi. Let me just read it as it is. Then Nyamo Karen Jerry and Nganga Bernadette and Omanga Millicent Nyaboke. So that is another very crowded race, as it were, with up to almost 8 aspirants for the woman rep. That's for Nairobi. So, of course, we are keeping tabs on what is going on the ground and bringing you details of what is happening in different parts of the constituency, the different parts of Nairobi. And right here in Nairobi, of course, we are looking at a very titanic battle. And allow me to bring in the guests that we have in this morning, just to, first of all, get their comments as we welcome them. We have Ken Wafula, who is a journalist. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Evans Wafula, I beg your pardon for that. We also have Suba Churchill, who is a political analyst. Gentlemen, what do you see playing out in Nairobi? How do you see how is this going to pan out? Let me start with you, Churchill.
I think it is going to be interesting. First and foremost, perhaps it would be important to point out that we are seeing a more well-organized nomination. And as I said earlier in this very platform perhaps last week, that the more the parties repeat it, the better they get. Secondly, we have a very juicy competition. And you know that the contest, as you have pointed out, is between the 2 front runners
for the gubernatorial race,
Peter Kenneth and Mike Sonko. But also very interesting, competition at the constituency level, where we have, the likes of Jaguar, running for Starehe against, old veterans like Maina Kamanda. And so we are going to see a very, very juicy competition that will be changing faces as we move on. But ultimately, of course, we'll have winners and losers. And I think people should accept that within the spirit of democratic competition.
Okay. And Wafula, your take on Nairobi, and basically what we've seen so far is that there seems to be, like Suba Churchill mentions, a bit more organization as compared to what was there before.
Basically, what we expect to see is that mistakes will not be repeated. And especially for Nairobi, is that I think they have learned from what happened in the previous primaries. Maybe the voters themselves, I think my prognosis on this is that maybe after the sham and the kind of mismanaged primaries that we have witnessed, I think some voters might be thinking twice whether they really want to participate in this other process that is going on maybe in Nairobi. I don't think many people in Nairobi will basically want not to participate, but they will really expect that the mistakes that happened in the previous primaries do not happen again. And looking at the 2, probably Peter Kenneth and Mike Sonko, where we expect at least the battle royale, we think maybe that's where there will be a lot of people coming in.
All right. Yeah. Now, Churchill, you've mentioned, and you've rightly mentioned, so that there has to be a winner and a loser.
Exactly.
And, of course, this is likely to affect how things go on politically. Now, maybe your thoughts, just to project, because hopefully by the end of today, it's either going to be, we'll know who is going to be representing Jubilee in the gubernatorial race for Nairobi.
Yes.
How is that likely to affect the party after? Because these are 2 very strong, they enjoy support from the top organs of Jubilee, Peter Kenneth and Mike Sonko.
I think whichever way it goes, it is difficult to predict because Mike Sonko is a very detribalized person. Is one of those characters that seem to appeal to people across the board. So even if you
let me just cut you short and hold that thought, because we want to cross over to Kisumu County, where we have Noah Otieno, who is basically there and has been on standby. Now, remember, Kisumu is waking up to the news that there were 2 winners announced. And, of course, this cannot be. We have the incumbent Jack Ranguma and Senator Anyang' Nyong'o announced as winners in 2 separate occasions. In fact, in one particular incident, we do have the incumbent being given the provisional certificate. And that is a standoff that we're waiting to hear how things have happened and what is going on. We also do know that Dr. Hezron Makobewa came out to say that this he terms as an illegality, and as a result, of course, is seeking for the party to come in and sort this out. Now, let's cross over to Noah Otieno, associate editor, who is in Kisumu and has been in Kisumu for the past few days. Noah, what's the development so far?
Mike, the latest that we can get as at this hour about the ODM nominations process in Kisumu County cannot come from a better person than a candidate, an aspirant who has been participating in the process and is now crying that the process has turned out as a shocker, not what they expected. Let's hear from Dr. Rose Kisia Omondi, who was aspiring to be a senator, who was aspiring to get the Senate nomination ticket, ODM Kisumu County. Dr. Kisia, tell us exactly what has the National Elections Board told you aspirants about the shocking turn of events where there are two different teams declaring results in Kisumu County. There is the returning officer and one of his deputies declaring results for the governorship, for the Senate positions.
Thank you. First, I must note that the ODM nominations in Kisumu County yesterday went on peacefully, and the people turned out in large numbers to nominate their leaders. And as the process was going on, I think we had some announcements, and to many of us, that was a real shocker, because we were still waiting for the results to come out. But as somebody who participated as a candidate, I think I was receiving a number of results from different polling stations, which indicated clearly that I was doing well for the Senate seat in Kisumu County. So as I was waiting for the official announcement and tallying of the votes at a central place, then we had these announcements, which were really shocking news to some of us who are candidates.
So have you spoken to the National Elections Board about this crisis, and what are they saying to you? How will they resolve this process, this problem?
What I can say is that we haven't received official communications from the National Elections Board, but myself in particular, I'm really truly keen and hope that my party would take this issue and follow it up, because as the only lady Senate candidate or active candidate for that matter, and where we are again also thinking about the 1/3 gender rule, I think Kisumu County should have been followed keenly, knowing that I was doing very well. And even last Friday's newspaper, as you could see, Standard, put me highly for this particular seat in Kisumu County.
Okay, ma'am, we shall be talking to you again about this particular development. But right now, I would like to take our viewers to my colleague Rashid Ronald in Siaya, where Jakoyo Midiwo, Game MP Jakoyo Midiwo, who is considered a very close ally of party leader Raila Odinga, has apparently been beaten in the nominations process. Let us go to Siaya County and see what's happening there. Breaking news. Rashid?
Yeah, thank you very much, my colleague Noah in Kisumu. I am in Siaya, and very interesting story here. Game MP Jakoyo Midiwo has just lost to one Elisha Odhiambo. And of course, Elisha Odhiambo, that is according to the report, returning officer Mr. Kilis Anato here at Game. Elisha garnered 13,400 votes. Then Jakoyo Midiwo got 8,950 votes. Rading Otieno at number 3, 1,821. JT Okinda, 130 votes. Fabian Oriaro, 54 votes. And of course, as the results were coming out or being released by the returning officer, of course, Jakoyo Midiwo has rejected the outcomes. Remember, he used the term, to use what he said, the polls were shambolic in other terms. And he says, for example, he says up to around 10 in the night, most of the polling stations in Game didn't have polling materials. That is what he's claiming. And also he's saying that in some of the polling stations, one could come across ballot papers from one polling station in a different polling station, hence making the exercise very shambolic. That is according to him. And of course, here at the Siaya Institute, you can see right behind me, there is a queue here. This is a security queue. all the people who are inside the main tallying hall were asked to come out by the security officers so that they can't be able to be vetted to ensure that no one enters inside there with any kind of weapon, be it a panga, be it a knife, be it a gun. Remember, there are also people who are licensed to carry guns, and of course at that time anything can happen inside there. So they have been asked, all of them, by the security chief here in Siaya, to come out and so that they can be able to be vetted. And this one shows you that I think now the main tallying is about to kick off any time from now. Back to you.
Have you managed to speak to Jakao Midiwo, and maybe just to get comments if you've managed to talk to him? All right,
Gitonga, I spoke to him.
Rashid, you can go right ahead. Yes, you spoke to Jakao Midiwo. What did he have to say?
A few minutes ago, he rejected the polls and said the exercise was really flawed from the word go. Remember, he's been complaining since we started, the polls started, since they were postponed the other time. He said there was something fishy. They were saying that the people were planning to rig this election. That's why they were postponed initially the first day. And of course, by today, he was telling me that, our ballot papers in Game constituency, where I come from, were deliberately delayed to facilitate that rigging, Gitonga. So he has said, I am not going to accept a shambolic exercise. Those are his words, Gitonga.
All right, and how have the residents of Siaya received this news after the announcement?
And of course, Gitonga, a lot of anxiety. So his supporters are saying, oh no, we've been rigged out. And a lot of anxiety. No one seems to know what next. You remember what happened in Kisumu, what happened in Homa Bay. So no one seems to know. Could that also happen here in Siaya? So it's just a wait and see, Gitonga.
You've said that his words, he will not accept a shambolic exercise. Would you describe the exercise to have been disorganized? What's your observation?
Literally, what I can only say is that there was this issue, a common feature of delay.
Sorry, Rashid, let me interrupt.
Of ballot.
All right, Rashid, let me interrupt you because we have Honorable Jakao Midiwo with us online and on telephone, rather. And good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us this morning. Now, what are your comments to the results that have been announced? Apparently, Elijah Odhiambo has won you. What are your comments, sir?
No, he hasn't won. He has been declared a winner using, cooked up figures. And I am peaceful. I am okay, and I think our party is on a self-destruction path, and we have no issues. I know as we speak, they're about to announce Rasanga the winner in Siaya. Well, he has, gotten very few votes.
Right. And when you say you're okay, are you accepting and conceding defeat?
Me, I am not conceding defeat. In fact, even by the announced figures, the figures the guy read line by line, I am still ahead by 1,000 votes. But if I go by my own figures, out of 72 polling stations, whose results I have, I am ahead by over 4,000 votes. So why the guy would do that, I don't understand. But he says it's under instructions, and he says he's doing what the party wants. And sometimes you wonder if you are Jakao Midiwo in ODM, if there's another party different from the one you know. So what we want is split for camp. We'll we will tell the people the way, which way we will.
Right, but Jakar Midio, you're a senior member of the party. When you say that it's what the party wants, quote unquote, of what he says, what does that mean, and what do you read out of that?
Well, self-destruction. I read self-destruction. That is what the guy has said in public. And I called the executive director of the party yesterday. I called the chair of elections board too yesterday when our ballots were getting to the polling centers at 2, 3 p.m. And I didn't get help. I told them, what do we do? Because the ballot papers were going there. Some is the boxes without the papers. In other places, the governor candidates, their ballots were missing. Where they didn't think Sanga would get votes. And in some places, in many places in my constituency, the ballots were not accompanied by the voter register. So you know, it was pre-planned to happen that way. And we, what can we do at this point? Really, nobody seems to care. And I don't think it's good to really belabor the point. They don't care. They want to self-destruct, and we want to wish them well.
All right. Mheshimiwa, you've also mentioned that they're about to announce Rasanga as the winner. Are you accepting that he is indeed the winner, or are you suggesting that they're announcing the wrong person?
They are announcing the wrong person, and this is what is happening with this ODM elections board. It's everywhere. I think 90% of the time, the winner is predetermined. And out of about 570-something polling centers in CI, by our own, where I sit, I see that Gumbo is ahead in 450 polling centers. So there is no scenario where Rasanga can be announced the winner. But they want to do it, and they're going to do it. I can tell you, I have seen what they've been doing. They're not listening. They're not listening.
Okay,
so
Mheshimiwa, and you're almost preempting and saying they're about to announce him. Where did you get the info from?
Because they have put thugs and youth in the compound of Sia Institute in anticipation, and the rush with which this guy announced the results, the cooked up result in game. They told me they needed the info down in Sia quickly, and they had to do it before daybreak.
All right.
So I am not just talking. I know what they're about to do.
So what is your source of information? Because you seem to have a pretty good idea that they're about to announce it before they announce it.
I have even some of my sources are the media. This is your game. You can tell when an activity is coming up. So the heightened activities in CI, like here in game, I have people. In fact, as I stand here, there are people walking in this tallying center with ballot boxes. So in CI, if the ones in game are only 50% in, what about the ones in CI as a county? It is not good what we are being treated to, and I don't want to be happy about it, but I am peaceful.
All right. Now, you are the deputy minority leader of the party, and looking at your speech and what you're saying, you sound like you're a victim. Don't you have access to some of these people who you suggest are pulling strings?
I don't think it's I think there's a dark force. There's a dark force amongst us, and that dark force is one which has refused to pull up its socks to the 21st century. And I can tell you, what do we do? I mean, it's obvious. It shows for itself. What can we do? Mm-hmm. So there's just simply too many people who want to be public servants, but feel helpless in the hands of political parties in this country. And so that if you go back to a rally held in Bondo town by Oburu and a few people, he said publicly that even if Jakoyo and Gumbo win, they will not give certificate. They will give them the certificate. So, when they say they will not get certificate, it means I'm already an outsider. It means Oburu has access to the certificate and we don't have. Arasanga has access to the certificate and we don't have.
Okay.
So really, that's where this country is.
All right. And what's your next step? What's your next way you're going to handle this?
Well, I'm still at the Darling Center. I'm waiting for Engineer Gumbo and members of the fourth estate. We want to consult a little bit and then, address the media. But going forward, we will make a decision. In any case, my brother, I've been a member of parliament for 15 years. Why even an option? I mean, if my help is not needed, really.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Jakayo Midiwo there giving us, his side of the story. But we want to go back to Siaya, where I believe announcements are being made. So we want to get that live and listen and hear what is happening. Let's cross over to Siaya.
Is the Honorable James Agre Orange. And repeat the tally for the winner. It is 140,748. I'm going to the position of the governor. We had 4 aspirants. That is Colonel Rasanga, Nicholas Gumbo, William Udual, and Kare Orege. Kare Orege managed to get 1,908. William Udual managed to get 9,535. Nicholas Gumbo managed to get 87,467. The winner is Colonel Rosa.
right, so that is joy and jubilation as we can see the supporters of Colonel Rasanga, who has just been announced as the winner of the primaries for ODM to carry the flag for the gubernatorial seat. And well, we did speak to Jakayo Midiwo not too long ago, and he did mention that the announcement was just about to be made. So there you go, and that's what we are seeing happening right there, and that is celebration from the supporters of Colonel Rasanga, who, according to the announcement made, he has garnered 143,446. Number two on that particular race is Nicholas Gumbo, who has 87,467. William Odur was third with 9,535. And last was Orege, who had 1,908. So what we were seeing right there is joy and jubilation from the party supporters, or rather from the supporters of Colonel Rasanga, as that was announced. Earlier on, we also do know that Jakayo Midiwo was Jakoyo Midiwo was ousted, and he managed to garner 8,950. Then that was by Elijah Odhiambo with 13,400. But now we want to speak to Rashid Ronald on phone just to get the reaction on the ground. Rashid, we have just had the announcement of Colonel Rasanga as the one who's won or rather he's going to bear the gubernatorial flag for ODM. What is the reaction on the ground, Rashid?
And of course, as you saw, there was a lot of excitement inside that hall. And after the announcement, the Chief supporters just left. They are dancing along the streets of Siaya, trying to celebrate the win. Remember, it has been a long way, a long night of voting, a long night of accusation and counter-accusation. And of course, in the end, they are happy. They are happy. They are saying now at least the journey is complete. They are saying now that, of course, now they've won the nomination. Of course, it's a direct ticket. And, of course, they are saying their man is going to retain that seat come August 8th, Gitonga.
All right, and we do know that, of course, that there is quite a huge figure between him and Nicholas Gumbo, with the incumbent Colonel Rasanga garnering 143,000 and Nicholas Gumbo 87,000. Are we likely to see Nicholas Gumbo come out and contest those results, do you think?
Yeah, and of course, you see Rasanga, of course, had 143,448. Then Nicholas Gumbo 87,400. Oh, a clear indication, because even as early as when these polls were actually suspended, I spoke to Gumbo and said he was not going to accept anything short of a free and fair election. And of course, remember there were two teams there. There was one team, the Gumbo team was actually led by Jakoyo Midiwo, who was actually rejected the polls after he lost. So what do you expect, Gitonga? I'm very sure we are going to hear Gumbo saying, I'm not accepting the outcomes of these results. Of course, we're going to look for him right now.
All right, and we did not see Nicholas Gumbo in that hall when the announcement was being made. And at the same time, we also have Jakoyo Midiwo had already indicated that the announcement was about to be made. Is this something that was expected? Was it already playing in the were there undercurrents that were playing?
Of course, interesting enough, Gitonga, is that there was no leader there, any aspirant inside there. Even the governor was not there. Remember, the certificate was handed to one of his aides. Orengo was not there. Gumbo was not there. There was no leader. It seems like some of them were anticipating. They said, probably, why should we go there? I don't know what to say about that, Gitonga, because it's interesting. They were not there.
And will you manage to, might you know where they might be? Because one would have expected at the point where the announcement is being made, at least whoever is being pronounced the winner should be there.
And of course, one thing again, Gitonga, remember there are other polling stations where the exercise started very late. And of course, we were actually expecting the exercise to take a little bit longer. Probably that one might be one of the factors why some of them are not here. But be sure that we are going to trace, we're going to look for them where they are and be able to get their views on what they think about this post. Of course, we need to talk to Rasanga. How does he feel? We need to talk to Gumbo. Does he accept the pause or not, Gitonga?
All right, and have you managed to maybe have a word with the supporters of Nicholas Gumbo to hear whether for them they accept the results?
Not yet, because the announcement has just been made a few minutes ago. And if you look at the hall, actually 95% was made of supporters of Rasanga. So it's a bit tricky, but of course you have to we need to talk to them at least, Gitonga.
And since you've been there all along, would you say that you had maybe this was going to happen? Because again, the fact that the winner was not there, then you've also mentioned majority of the supporters were actually for Colonel Rasanga. Was there wind within, the people there, the electorate, that this was going to happen?
You really can't tell whether it's the win is genuine or not, because in the first place, let's look at the history of this nomination, from the delays, from postponement. Those kind of things can determine the outcome of any poll, Gitonga, of course.
All right. All right, thank you very much, Rashid Ronald there reporting from Siaya, where, we have just heard the results being announced, where we have for the gubernatorial race, this is for the ODM ticket, we have Colonel Rasanga, who has won with a convincing 143,446 votes. We have a second, Nicholas Gumbo, who managed to garner 87,467. We have William Odor, who was third with 9,535. And last, we have Orege, who had 1,908. We also do know that the incumbent Senator James Orengo has also been announced as the winner for this particular nomination. And let me just come to the panel that we have here in the studio and hear what you have to say. Suba Churchill, is this a surprise for you?
Not really. I think we live in interesting times because listening to what Honorable Jacob Midiwo is saying, one who is, for all practical purposes and intents, is an insider in ODM and talking like that. And you see the winner, Elisha Odhiambo, there was also a story in 2013 between Elisha and Jacob Midiwo. So I'm not really surprised that once again Elisha Odhiambo has been announced the winner, because there were also stories that his victory may have been taken away and given to Jacob Midiwo. So we live in interesting times, and I think the results in Siaya, when you look at them with the results in Kiambu, for example, you see some kind of similarities, because you see candidates who decided to fight everybody else, losing massively. Look at what Kabogo has been doing. He had no following of even a single member of parliament. He had fallen out with virtually everybody, and he has lost massively. And what I like about Kabogo is that he has graciously, accepted the outcome of that process.
Although he still blames it on the fact that he says that they were not free and fair.
I mean, you would of course expect, a loser to have, to be left with a bitter taste in the mouth. But by and large, the fact that he has graciously admitted that he has lost the elections means that it helps the country to move forward. It helps the party to consolidate. And I think this is the same spirit that we want to see in Migori, because the results in Siaya more or less mirror what we saw in Migori, a decisive win, and then, people pose with some handful of supporters and declare themselves winner. I think that is not the spirit in which democracy is supposed to be practiced.
All right, Evans, your thoughts and maybe what you think by virtue of the fact that Jacob Midiwo is speaking like he's a victim, yet he's a very senior member of the party.
I think himself has already many times said that democracy has a price to pay, and he's bearing the brunt of democracy. What is a bit interesting is when he says that the party is on a path of self-destruction. Looking the kind of irregularities we are witnessing and the criticism on the election boards across maybe every party, and especially when we talk about on ADM in Nyanza, the way they have performed, where they are sort of being accused of weighing towards preferred candidates or preferred contestants. I think that in itself shows you that probably he's trying to say that there was maybe somebody who was already had been preferred. But looking at the numbers, I think in CIA we've seen the numbers really speak for themselves. The numbers even it shows that actually it's a fair contest. I think it's not fair for him to come back and say that the party is on self-destruction. Suba said he's an insider. He's really an insider. He's a very vocal member. And I think what has happened is that there's sort of a window for the so-called independent candidates. I'm sure that's what the next step he wants to declare, but he's not openly saying that. Yeah.
All right, and in case you're joining us now, well, news just coming in where we have Colonel Rasanga announced as the winner for the gubernatorial ODM ticket, and that's in Siaya County. But for now, would like to wave goodbye to our viewers on KTN Home, where Life and Style is just about to begin. And right here on KTN News, we continue with giving you accounts and details of what is happening on the ground. So for KTN Home, it's time for Life and Style. All right, Suba Churchill, now coming back to you and looking at Jacoyo Midiwo's posturing by saying that he has lost. And looking at the figures, we have Elisha Odhiambo with 13,000, Jacoyo Midiwo with 8,900.
I think, you see, and that's part of the reason why I'm saying that people need to learn and forget about all this, this sense of entitlement that people seem to have. The reason people go into elections is to seek the renewal of their mandate. And so people in game, just like in other constituencies and counties, have been able to assess the performance, and perhaps they just thought that they needed a new person altogether to be their representative in game. And I think this is the spirit in which we need to look at these elections. If we think that everybody, particularly those who are in office, have to recapture their seats, then there'll be no purpose for these elections in the first place. So I think people need to learn that there are moments when you, that even lions go without food and have to sleep hungry. Those of us who watch National Geographic, you know, have seen lions chasing their prey without success. And I think Jacoyo Midiwo needs to learn the spirit from the National Geographic that there are moments when you chase your prey and fail to catch it. And this is a particular instance where the Honorable Midiwo has really endeavored to catch a prey and unfortunately has not been able to get it.
Your thoughts maybe on his comment that the party is on self-destruction mode?
That to me it does not make much sense. That if anybody else is elected, then the party is on a self-destruct mode. I think the party is much bigger than Jacoyo Midiwo. The party is much bigger than, I would even say, the party leader, Honorable Raila Odinga. And the beautiful thing about these elections this time around is that the party leadership and even the elections board, you know, seems to be ready to even bend backwards. Look at what they were trying to do in Busia, saying if Honorable Tuoma is disputing results from 2 constituencies, let's go back. I think that has not been seen before. I think even you people in the media, you have never had the benefit to broadcast live nominations. We have always had, you know, who has the ticket. It has not been who won. It has been who has the ticket and whose name has been sent to the IBC. This time around, despite the challenges that the parties are facing, I think we must give parties the credit. For one, not interfering unduly with nominations and letting the people have their way, their say. So that if people have made a mistake, for example, in game by electing Elisha Odhiambo, they will learn from their own mistake rather than trace it to somebody else who may have been accused of imposing a leader. And I think this is one of the most beautiful things that I've seen in these nominations, and I think we need to build on that. And as a member of the civil society, we are looking forward to working with political parties so that we build their capacities to get these nominations right, because it is in those nominations where democracy lies.
All right, Evans, maybe your thoughts on the striking similarity. We've seen things happen almost identical in Migori and Siaya, you know, a bit of unrest and everybody saying that the announcements are not credible. Could this be by design?
I think, why do people have elections? I think it's for the electorate to either reject the status quo, or maybe to
Or
vindicate
whoever is there.
who is there. And I think that's what we've witnessed across Nyanza. If you see, for example, what has happened in Siaya, in Homa Bay, in Migori, it's very clear that the party has to stay away from these nominations and allow the people the opportunity to be able to elect the leaders they want. The issue of Homa Bay, especially Homa Bay and Migori, which was a bit fragile for the party, where we have seen even the level of violence. I think there is where the party has really to work very hard to rescue democracy. It's very difficult to qualify whether someone who wins in the shadow of violence, then declared a winner and walk with that victory towards the general election. That's where I think it's a bit confusing, because people died, property has been destroyed. Then somebody has won, has been declared the winner, and is going to walk with this victory to the general election. And the party might not even be able to punish the person.
All right. Churchill, your thoughts on how this is likely to affect the party, because Jacoyo Midiwo, by all standards, is a very senior member of the party. But if these votes are anything to go by, then the people have spoken. How is that likely to affect the dynamics of the party after this?
I think not much in terms of the party performance. Of course, there will be the perception that Raila's closest allies are falling by the wayside. And of course, people in the opposite side may decide to use that as a campaign tool and say, look, this man is running for president and his closest allies are losing. So that's one thing he must be prepared to ward off. But on the other hand, I do not think, looking at the jubilation that we are still witnessing on the screens, that will affect the voter turnout. I think Jacoyo Midiwo has had, as he rightly pointed out, 15 years to serve the people of Game. And I think it is perhaps a welcome break that he should take in his stride and find other ways. There are other ways in which he can support the party. I would personally, he's somebody I know personally, I would plead with him to close ranks with the winner and look at the bigger picture and perhaps help his nephew, Raila, to win the presidency, because perhaps it is in that win of the presidency where his token will come from, now that the people of Game have spoken. Yeah, I mean, the people of Game have spoken. His token perhaps lies in capturing the presidency because that, I mean, he's one of the most experienced people who perhaps might be considered for cabinet appointments, parastatal, ambassadorial. He's a very experienced hand and has a lot of role to play in the party, even if the party wins or loses.
All right. Evans, let's move to Kiambu, where many residents woke up to a surprise that William Kafoko has actually conceded defeat, despite the fact that actually vote tallying had not been completed, which was a surprise. I mean, the kind of terrain we've seen and how we've seen our politicians handle things, rarely do they, if ever, concede defeat. First of all, your thoughts on why Kafoko would even do that?
I think there's a lot of interpretation whether he has conceded defeat or whether he is going to make a new announcement.
Or whether he'll even run as an independent.
But traversing Kiambu, especially yesterday, I came across a place where they were voting. The level of unpreparedness in the elections was really visible. I mean, there are places where people were actually completely chased out of the line not to vote. And I think for Kabogo, he does not want to blame the VP. Because one thing I know from his body language and from yesterday when he kept on talking about somebody wanting him out of the party, wanting him out of Kiambu. He didn't make a lot of reference to Waititu himself, who is actually his political
the rival that they're fighting.
But he was talking about somebody in the party.
Actually, he even went to the extent of wishing Waititu all the best.
All the best. Yeah. So Kabogo's fight is not with Waititu, but it's with the party and very senior people in the party. But he's not ready. And you remember before these elections, he had some misunderstanding with the VP. And immediately the VP took charge of Jubilee House to make sure that this election, and Kabogo kept on saying that there are people who have been found with ballot papers. He even displayed to the media some ballot papers. So we're waiting to see whether he will launch a complaint to the Jubilee Party headquarters and see whether this complaint will be taken. Because he said he has a memorandum to the chairman, and he expects them to work on it. So to say he has considered, I think, from his language, is probably the interpretation would be as considered.
It's like
but
he's
him
giving
being
mixed
the
signals.
being the politician we have known for many years,
Yeah.
we expect him to even make an announcement very
All right,
soon.
Suba, might we be too harsh and maybe we're judging people based on their past and the fact that politicians never concede defeat? Maybe he has actually just conceded and he's okay with it.
I think so. I think he's one of the few who have considered defeat. And I think, as I've said before, his example need to be emulated. Experience has shown, in politics, you don't pick wars with everybody. And I started fearing for Kabogo when he fell out almost with all members of the National Assembly. He had no friend in the political leadership. Remember how he took on the deputy president, His Excellency William Ruto. And you know, for him it is a big loss because I think Kabogo is one of those who are positioning themselves in the Uhuru Kenyatta succession in Central. And part of the reason he was saying that, you know, the DP is not guaranteed support from Central is because he was perhaps seeing himself as one of those who were, you know,
fronted as
exactly,
potential.
yeah, and for him this is a big loss. Nevertheless, if we were to assume that he has taken his loss in his stride and, you know, he will go and reflect, because one of the things that you talk to voters from Kiambu, they say he does not relate well. He has this. Is
right.
perceived to be...
Sorry, let me cut you short a little bit. I understand we have Nicholas Gumbo with us on phone. And good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us this morning. We have just heard the announcements where Colonel Rasanga has been announced the winner for the ODM gubernatorial flag bearer. Your comments on that so far?
It's a circus. It's a complete circus. I mean, the votes are still at the wards. They have not even come to the constituency. So one would expect that after you bring the votes from, I mean, the procedure is to get the votes from the polling stations to the wards. And then you tally at the wards, then you go to the constituencies and you do your tallying there, and then you go to the county. You notice that the so-called returning officer, he was so bamboozled. They couldn't even give the tallies, the so-called tallies for the sub-counties because they don't exist. I mean, those are their own figures. We've just been sitting here all night. Up to now, we have tallied about, based on we are receiving from our agents, we have tallied about 57% of the vote, from 57% of the polling stations from all over the country. And those tallies, which, by the way, I'm shared even with Raila himself, show that I'm having 81,361 votes, and Rasanga is having 34,626. And which, with a breakdown, Bondo sub-county, I'm having 23,081, Gunja 10,590, Rarieda 17,841, Lagos Songa 2,928, Game constituency 18,271, Ugenya constituency 8,721. So really, that's a circus, and I don't want to be drawn into that circus. I mean, the only pity is that why they had to, lecture people to endure long queues to vote, to go to vote for the election they never wanted in the first place. That is the only pity for me.
Sir, you seem to be suggesting that there is an underhand playing and ensuring that you don't win.
It's not an underhand. There was no contest here, my friend. I mean, if I just read, these are figures these are verifiable figures. We have forms from the polling stations all over the county. These are forms that have been signed by the returning officers. There was no contest. I mean, Rasanga cannot win. It's not possible.
Would the returning officer then announce you as second place?
He could announce me the last place for all I care, because I don't know where he's getting. Those are people. Who I don't know. They could be using somebody else's head. I don't think any human being with the conscience I don't think any amount of twisting should lead any human being to do such a silly thing. It's absolutely silly, and I don't want to be drawn into it because it doesn't make sense really. You see, why it's so ridiculous, because ODM really has the recourse to select people. It doesn't even have to go through primaries. So that means that the only reason they took us through this was because they wanted to take money from the people, which is so shameful. I mean, why? I have no other reason than the fact that all they wanted was, to take money to run the secretariat, nothing more. This was no contest. Rasanga, out of the 6 sub-counties, Rasanga have beaten Rasanga in 5 sub-counties, and the figures are here with me. So how on earth can someone purport that he has 140,000? It's so ridiculous that I don't.
So evidently you do not agree with those results at all. No. So what's your way forward? What's the next step for you?
I have. It's not that I am an engineer first and foremost, so I look into numbers. The numbers mean everything to me. So it's not me agreeing with them. I have not even left my house. I'm working with figures that I'm receiving from the field. And the figures that I'm receiving from the field, and I'm telling you, the tallying has not even ended at the sub-counties. So how could this comedian of a returning officer claim that he is tallying the results? Do you notice that, if it was anything that has any amount of sensibility, he would have announced, for example, that Rasanga got this much from Rarieda, Rasanga got this much from Bondo, he got this much from Game, from Alego, Songa, from Ugunja and Ugenya. He can't do it because the tallying is still going on in the 6 sub-counties. So why on earth do these charlatans create things like this from? And so anyway, their party, they can do with it whatever they want. And the life has to go on. I have a life outside politics. I had a better life outside politics. So no one can cheat themselves that because they have not given me an ODM ticket, I'll all of a sudden go into depression. I can't. I mean, politics.
Honorable, so are you suggesting that should these results be upheld at the party level, then you would be quitting politics and going back to, what you do? Or would you also...
No, far from it. What I'm saying, if anyone, for whatever reason, thinks that they would lead me to persecution by doing something so silly and so ridiculous like this, that can't happen. I mean, perhaps what most people do not know is that I'm one of the few people who started looking after themselves when I was as young as 8 years old. I know how to survive. I have politics, and I came into politics to make a difference, and I thank God that, yes, in the time that I've served very other people, I can't do everything. Nobody can do everything, but there is a remarkable difference that has been seen here. So, but no one can cheat themselves.
So should these results be upheld, Mheshimiwa, would you consider going as an independent candidate?
I have no interest to contest such ridiculous, pronouncements. I mean, why would I? I've just told you that the tallying is still going on at the wards. The tallying has not even ended at the sub-counties. So how can you purport to have results for the county when the tallying has not even ended? And you saw the so-called the hired goons that were claiming to be celebrating. Is that how you celebrate a gubernatorial win, by the way? So this is all such childish and very primitive choreography that I don't want to be part of. But I will make a more comprehensive response later in the day. We won the elections. We'll prove it with the figures that we have. Not just one. There was no contest. Rasanga, there was never, ever a contest in the Siaga gubernatorial race. So, but what I find absolutely ridiculous and unacceptable is why they didn't choose the option of just giving Rasanga the ticket instead of pretending that there was an election when there was none, absolutely none.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Nicholas Gumbo, the Member of Parliament for Rarieda, who, according to an announcement made not too long ago, was second with 87,467 votes, and he was, the winner being Colonel Rasanga, who had 143,446 votes. However, he is contesting that. And, well, you are watching Morning Express on KTN News, where we have been live since 5 a.m. Bringing you a blow-to-blow account of the ongoing party primaries. After a titanic battle in Siaya yesterday, National Assembly Minority Leader Jacoyo Midiwo has lost the ODM nomination in Gem constituency to Elisha Odhiambo. But Midiwo has disputed the results, citing that he called massive irregularities. Midiwo says the entire nomination exercise in Siaya was flawed. Nonetheless, Siaya Governor Colonel Rasanga was announced the ODM gubernatorial nominee after garnering 143,446 votes to a rapturous celebration from the supporters. Rasanga trounced three other contestants to a public accounts chairman and Rarieda Member of Parliament Nicholas Gumbo, who garnered 87,467 votes. Nicholas Gumbo to dispute the results. He is in Siaya County. Returning officer announced the final results. And, that's what we have for you right here, right now. And, let's hear what the returning officer had to say.
The total tallies were Margaret Adhiambo, 7,099. Clement Albrecht Gode, 9,852. James Agre Orengo, 140,742. So the winner to the Senate position is the Honorable James Agre Orengo. Repeat the tally for the winner. It is 140,748. I'm going to the position of the governor. We had 4 aspirants. That is Colonel Rasanga, Nicholas Gumbo, William Udual, and Kare Oregi. Kare come on.